I don't know.
She's been on phenomenal form all year.
It's really annoying. She's brought her dog. I'm not sure if we can show you the dog.
Oh gosh, I think it was 30.
He is the most incredible horse.
What do you mean? That's why you're here. Wow. Good job.
It is Cross Country Day here on Luhmühlen Lakes, day 3 of our nightly chat show from the Luhmühlen Horse Trials, Germany's only 5-star horse trials, and of course everyone's favourite. Now there are 2 competitions running here. There's the 5-star and there's also the 4-star, which incorporates the German National Championships. We're mostly going to be talking about the 5-star here with a little sprinkling of 4-star, and there's plenty to talk about. Coming up, we have Laura Collett, who is leading the 5-star with a considerable lead. We have Boyd Martin, and we also have Peter Thompson, the German National Performance Manager. And as well as that, we have Ride of the Day, which Spencer Sturmey has very carefully chosen. And everyone's favourite item, Dog of the Day. That's all coming up. And we're supposed to be now introducing Laura Collett. She is on her way. In fact, she'll be arriving on a bicycle any moment now. So I've seen Spencer standing over there, and I'm going to drag him in. He doesn't know this. Spencer, come on in, because I haven't got my opening guest. Yes, I have. She's here, Laura. She's eating something. What are you eating? Come on in. You might. Well, do you want to eat that and I talk to Spencer for a minute, or? Right, we're just going to let Laura finish her food. She is an athlete. We need to make sure that she has her sustenance. This is brilliant. This is what we love about live telly. Spencer, I'm about to ask Laura about her incredible cross country, but you were obviously watching and commentating. Why do you think it was so good?
Well, I mean, Laura, you know, from Badminton and then coming back here, I didn't know whether there were going to be any nerves from 2019. You'll have to ask her that. But she went out there like a woman possessed. She really did. And for once, I think I've seen Laura go cross country. She just, I mean, everything looked perfect. She went so quickly and so precisely across the country. Nothing ever looked that it was going to go wrong ever, and it was just poetry in motion to
Laura,
watch.
come in. We're just going to keep Spencer here. Come on in. He just said, if you wouldn't mind just sitting on that chair and picking up the microphone. Oh, and there's some results you're sitting on. There are tractors. Bear with us, because obviously it's Luhmühlen, so there are always 10,000 tractors, and they're getting ready for show jumping. Laura's going to be having a little look at the course in a minute, secretly, I'd imagine. Laura, well done on a wonderful round. Spencer said that you went out today like a woman possessed. Did you feel like you had anything to prove out there? What was going on?
Well, yeah, just trying to put some demons to bed. I've come here a few times and had, apart from with Mr. Bass, who's a bit of a freak, always had a bad time here. So, yeah, it was nice to go out and, you know, I know he's a phenomenal horse, and just to, you know, let him show everyone just how good he is. And you know, at the end of the day, he's a different horse than what he was when he was here in 2019, and you have to just remember that. You know, he's now done however many cross-country tracks since then, and yeah, he was foot perfect.
You knew the more noises. This is getting louder by the second. Obviously, you had a big lead after the dressage. I mean, your dressage score 20.3 was like 6.3 points ahead of the next person. So you already had a massive lead. And we're just actually looking at your cross country now. Oh my goodness, the water bowsers. The water bowsers reversing. Talk us through what we're watching, Laura.
Yeah, look, he set out like he's such a long striding horse, and actually the first 2 fences I kind of forgot I was sat on him and was riding him like he was my first horse, and then by fence 3 I remembered that I was on him, and just to let him get on and do his thing. You know, he was so bold here, and kind of just set the tone. He was just keen. He knows his job now, and he's like, let me at them, which, you know, it's taken him a while to get to that point. As you see him, like he's throwing his head, he wants to go. He's had problems in the past with ditches, but you wouldn't know it watching him there. And I think that's the key with him now, is to just forget what happened 4 or 5 years ago. He's a superstar, and as long as I aim him somewhere near the fences, he's going to go.
Obviously, you said that it was your second ride. Didn't go quite so well on Da Capo. I mean, obviously, you would have liked that to have been another perfect round, but does that presumably helps you having that round, even though you had to retire cross country?
Yeah, look, they're 2 completely different horses. Da Capo, somehow, I don't know how, but that horse knows when it's a 5-star. He's been phenomenal at 4-star for the last 18 months, and we thought, right, we'll come off the back of that and give him another crack. And he was just, he was never really interested in going cross country today, but luckily he chose to go far enough around the course that I jumped most of the tricky fences to have a feel, basically have a feel of just how tough it was riding.
This is you still on London 52 at the Messmer. Talk us through this.
Yes, he's still pulling. You know, I had a bit of a gallop through the woods, and wanted to just wait for the 6 strides rather than float down on the 5, and then got up here and had to be short and then long. But he was straight as a die. Like he knew exactly where he was going. It genuinely felt like he'd kind of walked the course before. He was looking for the fences, and I think he's such a show off these days, that he loves the crowds. And so coming into the arena here, it's quite buzzy and quite loud, and this is obviously where I had the problem on my first horse, and it had caused a couple of problems, but he eyed it up out of the corner and, you know, didn't have a worry. And then obviously this is a fence that I fell at, so I was super grateful to see a stride at it and get that out the way. And you know, and then he just felt like he cruised home. He's, you know, clever with his footwork, and he was just looking for the flags.
How old is he now?
He's 14, so, you know, he's done enough now to know what he's doing. And what was nice is that I had, you know, he was so up on his clock that I could really set him up for those parallels, because they walked short, and he's such a long striding big horse that, you know, I wanted to respect them, you know, have a pin or something stupid.
That's what I was going to say. Mike Etherington Smith said in our cross-country preview that he deliberately put them in. It's very little that he said the course designers can do now, so they're trying to catch out the tired horses with the pins on those big wide fences.
Yeah, and you know, he's very clever with where he positioned them. You had a roll top with a bit of a drop, and then you ran downhill to those on a short distance, so you had to respect them. You couldn't just float home, and you'd had a really long gallop, almost a minute galloping with nothing, and then you had 5 fences to jump in the last minute. So, you know, he's done a really good job. He's very clever course designer, and I think if you look at everywhere, the problems were spread out everywhere. There wasn't one particular fence, which is what we said when we walked it. There wasn't one fence that stood out at you. You were like, you can have a problem anywhere.
We know he's phenomenal, and we've seen.
Not
him.
Mike. We're talking about
No,
London.
no, London.
Mike as well. I'm joking.
No, London. Dan, as he's known to his stablemates, but he's been phenomenal. At Babington, when you won, you were held halfway around the course, and you finished there brilliantly. Didn't quite go to plan either, really, at Pretoni. But here, he just looked from start to finish. He looked like a new horse. He looked like he had a new lease of life. And you two, there were no real worries with you two out there. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, I think look, you're always learning, and he was amazing at Badminton last year, and I was a bit annoyed that people made such a big thing about the hold, because he was 6 seconds up when I got held, and he was feeling amazing. And to be honest, I didn't know how he'd come out, because he's not, like, look, at the end of the day, he's not a natural cross-country horse. He's had to learn to be a cross-country horse. He's done that through trust and belief in me, and I really wasn't sure how he'd come out of Badminton, because that was a big ask for him, and he doesn't really like ditches, and those vicarage ditches are pretty meaty, and it felt like he questioned, you know, my sanity. As I said, you know, at that last one, he was like, another one. I was like, please. So yeah, he could have gone out of it one of 2 ways. He could have said, actually, I don't really like that. It was quite a big effort. And he didn't. He came out of it thinking he was Billy Big Balls, and basically bolted with me in Pretoni. And so changed the bit, and think with, you know, he came out this year, obviously didn't have, you know, the start that we wanted with an overreach, but you know what, blessing in disguise. Having seen what Badminton mud turned out like, he wouldn't have liked that.
I was going to say, because you said that in the
and
dressage
I said it
interview.
as well.
You said it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason, and as soon as he had the overreach, I was kind of like, actually relieved, because nothing had gone right in the spring with the ground, and I didn't run him at Thorsby because I felt the ground was too deep, and then he missed Burnham Market because of the overreach, and I thought, do you know what, you have to read the signs, and the signs are don't go to badminton.
But the probability of you running at badminton with him would probably be quite low anyway, would they, with the ground conditions?
Tell you what, if he'd gone and done a dressage test like he'd done here, it would have been a seriously hard decision because I wouldn't have wanted to run him because I would have known it wasn't the right thing for him. But when you're sat, if it'd been sat in the lead, it would have been a really tough call, and I'm just glad I didn't have to make that call.
Yeah.
Do you think that's getting harder for riders generally? Because obviously you've never not loved your horses. All riders love their horses, particularly obviously in eventing. But do you think now, with the more we're thinking about their welfare and everything else, do you think it's harder now to run when it's not the right thing? Or I'm probably asking really the wrong question on an eventing chat, but do you know what I mean? Is it harder now, do you think? Do you have to...
I think you're probably speaking to the wrong person, because I'm soft as and I don't think it's right. So obviously for me the horse always comes first, always has, always will. You don't get a second chance with horses like him, especially. They don't come around very often, so it's my job to look after him.
You've won so much with him. We were talking before we came on about obviously the Olympic medal as well, the gold medal in the team, but you haven't won. You've won pretty much everything else, but you haven't won an individual international title. It's the Europeans this summer. How are you feeling about it? Not trying to tempt fate, but you must have your eye on it.
Let's get through tomorrow first. Look, it's always been a lifetime dream to get the full set of medals. Ponies, juniors and young riders seem pretty easy, and seniors isn't.
No,
we were talking about the amazing Noble Springbok. In fact, I was talking to your mum about Noble Springbok over on the cross-country course. How much did going through that process of the juniors and young riders and training those horses yourself, how much has that helped you now?
Oh yeah, it massively set me up. I've been so lucky throughout throughout my youth career of having superstar horses, and I've been lucky to have superstar horses through seniors as well, but for one thing or another it just hasn't quite happened as easily as it did through the youth programs. But it's set me up, and to be honest, it's just made me really hungry, and I know what it feels like to win a European Championship, and I'd quite like to feel that again.
Okay, well, we're going to wonder who the team are. I mean, obviously with the German National Championships going on as well, we've got Peter Thompson coming on later, hopefully, and they're going to have some big decisions, and the selectors are going to find it difficult because the Brits are so strong. We know that you're going to be all right, we're fingers crossed you are, but the Brits are so strong. I mean, look at Kitty rode brilliantly today as well, didn't she? Did you see her round? Yeah,
I saw her round, and I thought it looked like a pre-novice, to be honest. Froggy was amazing, and she deserves it. She's been, had a little bit the same, one thing or another, just not quite gone right. So great for her. And I mean, it's been like this now with the Brits for the last 4 or 5 years. It's ridiculous, and you keep thinking each year, or last year was a bit of a one-off, but it's not. They're just, the strength and depth is insane, and it's keeping us all on our toes anyway.
Yeah,
okay.
It certainly is. You've had a great team behind you, and in London 52 with Keith and Karen, they've been amazing supporters. You've got some fantastic owners. How do you keep finding these new horses? Because I know you've got a great team of young horses coming on through as well. You've just got a brilliant system as well.
Yeah, I guess that because I really enjoy having them from youngsters and bringing them all the way through. It's something that I've always done because I've always had to, and I get much more enjoyment out of having them from the very beginning and knowing them inside out and building the partnership. But yeah, without the support of the owners, it's not possible. So hugely grateful to have the support of the owners and the team behind me, because I'm just the lucky one that gets to be the face of it and sit on a horse like London and steer him hopefully in the right direction. But it's thanks to so many people that if I start naming them all night.
Well, I know but they deserve credit, and you do too. Well done. Best of luck tomorrow. You've got 1 fence and 6 time penalties we've worked out in hand, so we'll have to see how you get on. Now we've got Boyd Martin waiting in the wings, so we're going to have to do a bit of a shifty, and we have to hollow him over. Boyd! Thank you, Laura. Good luck tomorrow. Thank you for your time. Bye, Boyd.
How are you guys?
Come and join us. Sorry, I couldn't see you behind. Well, you can stay
behind
if you like.
Spencer's head.
So you can stay if you like. Sorry, Spencer, I couldn't see you, and I thought, well, I don't, and I
Spencer was
know
getting
that
in
you've
the
got
way.
somewhere to be. So I know we haven't got very long
Always.
with you. Your manager Taylor's like, oh, it's got to be done by 6:15. I think we're already out of time.
She's
Anyway,
all right. She gives me a
Well,
hard
he's
time
going
too.
to try a new horse.
is that where you're going?
Just can you keep it quiet? I'm trying to get a good deal on this thing.
Well, before we talk about the new horse, let's talk about the two that you rode today. 2 clears inside the time in the 5-star. You must be very pleased with that.
I was thrilled. They're first time at a 5-star level, and to come over here, it's a huge trip. You know, it's expensive. It's a huge commitment. And you're like, oh, you're telling the owners that you think it's going to be okay, and you walk the course and you can't sleep at night, and to ride around the course and to get inside the times are just a massive relief and a huge accomplishment.
Was it? I mean, I'm sorry. I asked the same to Yulia Krajewski actually, because she obviously had 2 clear. I don't know if they're both inside the time, but anyway, she's obviously leading 4-star. Did you have a preference in the rides? Was one better than the other? I mean, obviously, Luke is higher up the running order in 4th.
So I got Luke and the other horse, Luke 140, who I bought not far from here, up the top of Hamburg near Denmark, and then Fetterman B's a Dutch warm blood, and they're both fantastic jumpers, great gallopers, and it's hard to split them. They're both champion horses. They both they've got their own personalities, and they were fantastic around the track today.
Now, Spencer and I were talking about Fetterman, because obviously there's a wonderful but also very sad story behind Fetterman. Just tell the audience.
Yeah, there was a young rider called Annie Goodwin in America, and I used to train her a bit on Bruno, we call him, and she had a terrible accident schooling with Bruno, and it was just horrific, and unfortunately she passed away, and I was asked to ride Bruno from her parents, and I mean, what an honour and privilege to sort of, Annie's dream was to take this horse to the 5-star level, and so I was nearly teary at the end of the course today, just because she'd bought him as a 3-year-old from Holland, and taken him all the way up to the 4-star level, and then tragically passed away, and to sort of finish her work and to sort of take this horse as a sort of a living memento for her, and she's got so many friends and fans and supporters in America. It's a real honour riding Bruno around the 5-star level.
Well, you rode him at Bruce's Field, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. I was there when you won at Bruce's. It was so special, and to have the Annie Goodwin Syndicate and also the Memorial Fund going as well. I mean, it's just so special for her parents as well, who are still very much involved and still follow avidly, and he looks so easy cross country today. He's got such a relentless gallop, hasn't he? And you don't have to do much setting up. I mean, he just is there and jumping and going.
No, he's a legend. He's like you said, Spencer, he's got a really light mouth. He jumps the moon. He loves his job, and yeah, it's funny what animals do to us, and where they take us in the world, and how they can sort of make us remember wonderful things, and very, very proud to be able to ride Bruno for Annie Goodwin and the syndicate and her family and her friends, and yeah, he's pulled up well. He looks fresh as a daisy, so hopefully we come in and show jump well tomorrow.
2 good rides. Thomas, what
Don't
happened?
go there. I thought she was saying.
I
She
wasn't
said
even going to
2
go
rides.
there.
Oh,
I wasn't
this is
going to go
perfect.
there.
We don't even get to talk about.
I want to know what happened to Thomas.
What a
because,
disaster! Yeah. You know when you go to like the handbook of what not to do when you're cross country riding. I mean, I was roaring around, and he was second to go, and for some stupid, I was too confident, and I came up to the first water and got right underneath to a terrible, basically missed deep distance at the rail end, and poor old Thomas like gargled over it, and then I was sort of stuck between the forward 3 and a steady 4, and I tried for 4. I should have just given him a nudge, and he would have got across there in 3. So that was that was completely my my bad riding.
I wasn't going to mention that, Spencer, but at least you got that far. We had one rider fell off in the warm up, and another one only fell off at fence 2. So
yeah, no, but it's annoying though. Thomas, he should have danced around this course, and I rang the owners up in America and just apologised because he's in great form. But it goes to show that this is an exciting sport, and any tiny little misjudgment, miserror. I mean, it's a 11-minute course, and how many ever jumps, and you just screw up 1 millisecond. It's not like golf or tennis where
Yeah.
you muck up a shot, you can sort of get back in there.
Yeah.
Like it's really it's
Very
heartbreaking.
unforgiving.
Yeah, you got to become a good loser.
You do.
I'm not getting bad eyeballs from your manager, so we can ask you another question, I think.
Sure.
The Olympics, obviously, next year. You've been to, well, we're totting up, three.
Yeah.
Presumably Paris is in your sights, and that's what you're aiming for, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that this year we're just trying to rally up a good group of horses, all to be in contention. America is strong. It's funny. I left Australia thinking American team would be easy to get on, and now the American
Yeah.
team's as competitive as hell, and
Yeah.
I would be dancing onto the Australian team. Sorry, guys.
Oh, boy.
Brilliant.
Boy.
That's
I
gonna be a headline on our socials.
Can you not
He
show
said it
this in
here. He
Australia?
said it here.
going everywhere.
But America's hot. We got some great horses, great riders. The sport in America's humming. Everyone's fired up. So I think the Paris team to get on the American team is going to be a real battle. So I'm spending this year trying to just get some good 5-star and 4-star performances, and then we'll have to duke it out next spring.
Well, you've clearly got some good horses. Thank you, Boyd, for coming in.
Dankeschön.
I know you had some head cam footage. We're having a few issues. We can't show that.
Okay.
But it'll be presumably on your socials, your head cam from Luhmühlen.
I'm sure.
What's it called?
What, my social media? I don't know.
Boyd Martin.
Boyd Martin. Boyd Martin or something.
Boyd Martin eventing.
Boyd Martin eventing
Oh, I didn't think
on
we could.
Instagram.
Oh, apparently we can show
You
it.
can
I think
become a friend.
Hang on,
We've got
we
it,
can
we've
show
got it,
We
we've
can-
got it.
Facebook.
Hang on, we
We've
can
got it.
show a little bit of
Oh,
it.
let's have a look at it. There we go. There's my groom on the left. She looks terrified. Now this is Bruno.
Fetterman B.
Look at this.
So is this the whole round, or his just?
I hope it's not the whole round, because he's got to go and look at a horse. Where are you going? Oh, you're
Well,
not allowed to
he's
tell
not
us.
looking at a horse.
Now listen, I'm trying to get a good price on this horse. So just not alert the whole German horse dealing community.
They'll be following you out of the building.
So cool watching this. It's
It's good, isn't
it's
it?
funny when you're nervous and you're anxious. This is all just a big blur, and to relive it's pretty awesome.
God, do you know what? It shows how quickly they come up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the hard thing with this course. Is it's
Obviously, we did cut them. We did cut
Yeah.
between the fences.
it happens quickly.
This-
I
this
got it.
is-
I got it right
He
here.
got it right.
He did it. He did it perfectly. I
He
was-
did. He looked so good, so smooth through there.
Look at his little ears going.
Coming up to the bank now.
I thought he built a good track.
He
Mike
did,
Etheridge
yeah,
Smith.
didn't
You know,
he?
there was I'm lucky that I'm one of the only riders that, because of Adelaide, I've done all the 5-stars, and they're all different. You know,
Yeah.
they've all unique. They've all got their own flavour.
Which
Yeah.
is your
And-
favourite? Obviously, Luhmühlen.
I don't know. That depends what horse you're on. You know, the horses I had here were well suited to this, but you know, for Kentucky and Burleigh and Badminton, you need a real galloper, and then for this one, Poe and Adelaide, it's a bit more of a sports car. That, you know, a quick nippy horse that can turn and adjust, and he built some good questions. I love the course. It wasn't as big in dimensions as Kentucky, but I don't think with the layout of the land you could build massive fences, and they actually rode big because you're coming off tight
Yeah.
turns and whatnot. So
Well, I think that's what Mike always says. It's about the topography and how he places the fences out there on the course, and actually makes the riders choose the ground and choose the lines.
yeah. And about now, Bruno was getting a bit tired, and I gave him a cluck here, and gee, he dug deep for me, and without getting too emotional, these horses just try, and I'm just blown away. At the end of the course there, when they're getting low on juice, and they just grit their teeth and pin
Dig a
their
bit
eye, and they
deeper.
fight for you. It's
Yeah.
a tremendous moment between an animal that you work with every day for years and years.
Yeah,
So.
and especially I expect the girls on behind the scenes as well.
Oh mate, we've got
I bet they get really emotional.
Awesome team.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, there's so many. I mean, I'm the guy riding the horse, but there's, the team at home, and the blacksmith, the vet, the grooms, the owners. It's a massive group behind each horse. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Boyd, thank you so
Thank
much.
you
We're
so
going to
much.
let you go, and,
All right.
and good luck. Hope you get a good price.
Dankeschön.
Wiedersehen.
Oops.
Right. Okay, before we move on, we're going to look at everyone's favourite insert into Luhmühlen Lakes. It is, drum roll, Dog of the Day.
Hi everybody, my name is Victoria from Pets Deli, and today we choose another dog of the day, and today it's...
Boris!
Yay! Tell me something about Boris.
Well, Boris is the Irish Eventing Times travelling terrier.
Ooh.
He comes to events all over Europe, hates the dressage, tends to go to sleep, loves the cross country. He's been out there all morning this morning watching every horse go through, fascinated by it all, and totally chilled.
Yeah, as
you
I
can see.
Yeah. Great.
Has a big fan club. People say hello to Boris, not me.
Everybody knows his name,
They all
not
know
yours.
him, exactly.
And I also know only his name and not yours, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Because it's about Boris, and that's why you get a present today from us.
Oh, Boris!
A big surprise
Look.
box with some food
Look what we
and
got,
some
Boris.
other goodies.
Look what we got. Wow. Yes. Happy Boris.
But from dog of the day, it's never a good segue this, to ride of the day.
Yeah, ride of the day.
We have someone that we need to just bring in.
Does she know?
She doesn't know, but she's
No.
about to find out. We have Susie Berry. Hello.
Hello, I drew the short straw coming in after Bozza.
You didn't draw the short straw because this is what you're going to get, and Spencer's going to tell you why.
Yeah, so over the course of the last 3 days,
Ta-da!
we've had Ride of the Day, chosen by myself. So you get a bottle of pink champagne.
And some amazing alpaca Dubarry socks. Now, if orange isn't your colour, they said you can swap it, and you can swap.
Probably clashes with the
I don't know. And you can change the size, but they're very nice.
Oh, bless you.
So that's Ride of the Day, and we're going to have a look at a little excerpt of your round today. And I just thought, Monbeg by Design, he was first 5-star. You rode him in your first championships at Bretoni. Let's have a look at this. Bretoni d'Avovaro, you jumped one of the only clears in the show jumping as well on the last day, but he just looks so good cross country.
He's incredible. I think I could set him on him backwards and he'd give it a go on his own, to be honest. He just, as soon as I got on to there, his ears were touching in the middle. Like, he just lives for a Saturday at a 3-day.
Did you have many expectations out there on the cross country? Because being a first 5-star, you come to Luhmühlen. You know, I love the way he just seemed to read every fence and say, okay, yep.
Yeah, I mean, he is a very nice horse to ride cross country. He would definitely have his own way of going, but if I get him anywhere near it, I know for a fact he'll give it a go. And I didn't have the best ride through here.
Sorry, what does that mean? He has his own way of going.
He would naturally go a little bit strung out and a little bit with his nose out the front, but I just trust him so much. Like, if you see here,
yeah, this is where he just found his 5th leg, didn't he?
He does, and I don't have much adjustability to collect him, but it works for him. You know, he just he's like a very big pony in that he can figure it out whether I'm anywhere near it or deep, or, you know, he's just incredible.
And just 4 seconds over the time, 1.6 time penalties in his first 5-star. Brilliant.
Yeah, class. And like, I went long at the first water, which wasn't the plan. I'd watched quite a lot of horses, and you're always told, you know, watch them, but don't get carried away. And I think I probably did, if I'm honest, because a lot of horses poked into the first water, and I kicked him a bit too much, and I landed too far out. So, you know, I was thrilled with him. He makes me a little bit emotional, to be honest, because he's a horse that came for me from Jonty Evans as a 6-year-old, and Nick and Helen Caton own him. And when he first came, we were like, oh, you know, he's just not the best mover, he's this, you know, poking holes in him. And, you know, he just has proven every step of the way that he is a out-and-out event horse, and I adore him.
Is this your first? Sorry, is this your first Luhmühlen? Have you been?
Yes, it's my first time being at Luhmühlen. Yeah, I just thought from everyone's experiences, they came back and said, you know, for Arthur, this would be a good next step, and I think it really was. It was really suited him down to the ground.
And what are the plans with him? Because being a first 5-star, and, you know, not knowing really coming into the event what you're gonna
have at the end of it
on Saturday night, let alone on Sunday. But you had a really good feel of that come Bretoni, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know, he really showed what his worth was there, and then to come here off the back of not that many runs. Again, you're based in the UK.
Yeah.
Former head second rider to Piggy March.
Yeah.
So you've had a pretty good mentor behind you, but you've not had the build-up that you necessarily wanted. But this has been a really good indicator of just what horsepower you've got now with him, and looking forward to the Europeans.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, it is on purpose that he comes here a little bit off a fresh start. I try and get my eye in on all the other horses, and I save him, for the big days. I think he thrives off a 3-day, and going to 1 day, he's not that bothered.
Yeah.
He jumps round, but I might as well be jumping around in the arena. Like he just goes through the motions, but he lives to come to a 3-day.
Very exciting.
I'm just going to see I can't remember where you are. Sorry, Susie. I should have worked this out before we went on.
She's
are
pretty far up there.
you're 17th. You're doing all right.
Yeah, very good.
So, I mean, what would be good tomorrow? Obviously, go in and do a clear, but I guess you just want to get round. And
Yeah, I mean, still got lots to do tomorrow, and I think sometimes it's almost harder sitting on a horse like him, because I expect him a little bit to go and jump a clear round, but they still have to go and do it, and the jumping's massive here, isn't it? So I just want him to be happy, and
do you think it will be different from Bretoni? Because Bretoni you jumped on grass.
Yes.
And then here you're on a surface. Is he different on the two?
I would say not so much, but it is definitely a different sort of feeling, isn't it? And everything's quite close here, whereas at Bretoni all of the people were actually quite far away from the arena, but he lives off a bit of atmosphere, and I really hope that he'll perform to his best.
Will you and the riders, I mean, I don't know will you have a little look? Obviously you're not supposed to have a look, but will you have a little peek? They're building it behind you?
From the side, definitely.
And what will you be looking for? Will you
I don't really mind, to be honest. I sort of already had a little look. I thought, there's a double of Oxers. But I don't mind so much with him. As long as he feels fit and well in the morning, he'll give it a best shot, whether it's tight or not. He's a good jumper.
But he pulled up well.
Really well.
Yeah.
Thrilled with how he pulled up.
And have you given him a trot this
yeah,
evening?
he looks really good.
Fabulous.
Good boy, Arthur.
Well, the Trot Hub is at 8 o'clock in the morning. It is going to be live on Horse and Country. What's your outfit, Susie?
I haven't thought that far.
Oh, no.
I'm not that kind of person.
Well, you better get thinking. The shops are closing.
I know. And there's not many things that aren't covered in dust by this stage of
We're in the same boat, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything's covered in dust, isn't it?
Whether it's made an appearance yet or not, to be honest. But I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm sorry to disappoint.
No, that's absolutely not disappointing. Good luck tomorrow, and we will be looking out to see what you throw on for the Trot Up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well done to you.
Yeah, very
you
well
are
done.
our ride of the day rider.
Thank you. Cheers.
Right, well, as Susie just goes off to check out her wardrobe, let's just move on to talk about the 4-star a little bit, because we haven't really talked about the 4-star today. Yulia Krajewski in first and second. Ingrid,
I know.
Ingrid toppled off.
I know.
That was a surprise.
It was a surprise, but we said all through the day, and I was very lucky. We had some brilliant co-commentators and guest commentators today. But that fence in the arena, it caused more trouble than we really anticipated. But there's a lot of younger horses in that 4-star short. We think that they're here at Luhmühlen, that they've got a lot of experience, but a lot of these have come here with not that much experience. To come into the arena, to come off that turn off the corner by the sponsors, which are quite close to that fence, and then there's a water tray underneath, which didn't have water in, then did have water in for cross-country day. There were just a lot of elements that the horses backed off and weren't getting the 2 strides. We saw a couple go through on the 3. Ingrid came round the corner beautifully, and for some reason, one reason or another, we just don't know what happens. Equestrio Sienna Just Do It jumped in beautifully, got the 2 strides, and just drifted right and caught her leg as she took off, and it was the high part of the brush shoulder, and out came Ingrid, and down you go, and that's the sport, and that is what happens in this sport, and it's you're up 1 minute and down the next.
You mentioned the water tray, because Mike Etherington Smith said to me yesterday, I've just put a couple of water trays in the main arena. I've never done it before. Just thought I would see how it goes. Will he be? I mean, maybe I need to ask him, but do you think he'll be going brilliant. It could. I mean, not that he wants to see people
No.
fall off, but will he be thinking that was a win? Or
I think he will. I think he'll see that as a really positive thing for course design. It's not about just having plain fences in an arena. Let's do something with them. Let's put a water tray underneath. Why not? Let's put a different element to it. And I think he's done an amazing job from start to finish. There were problems all around the course. We had a fall at fence 2. We had a run out.
Fall in the warm-up.
We did have a fall in the warm-up. We also had a run out at the second last, having gone clear. It was just problems all around the course, and that is testament to a really good course designer. And it told a story. So it started off with a couple of narrow fences, then you had corners, and then that really set you up for other questions that were coming around the course. And if they didn't start in that positive manner, then it just started to unravel slowly around the course. But what was lovely to see was that nothing was trappy, nothing was set there to upset the horses, to really get them into trouble. It was a very, very horse-friendly course. It was great.
Well, Julia Krajewski in first and second. So
Yeah.
she's first with Nickel and second on Aero de Contre.
Yeah.
And they're both 9-year-olds.
Yeah, they are.
So you were talking about young horses
Yeah.
that didn't do so well.
Yeah.
Those were two young,
Well,
fairly young
we've
horses
got the
who did very well.
reigning Olympic champion on their back as well. She's incredible. She trains these horses from a young age. Like Laura was saying, train them all the way up through. They know, she knows them very well. She was bang on the optimum time with her first horse. She was just over the optimum, I think, on her second horse. And just watching her jump round, it's just so lovely. We're so spoiled, I think, in Europe with the quality of rider. You talk to Boyd, you talk to Laura about who's going to be on that team for the Europeans and the Olympics. God only knows, because it is so tough for those selectors to be choosing, a minimum of 5 to go to that European or Olympic championships, and that's a really hard task. We've seen some amazing performances, but Julia was incredible. She really was, and to sit first, second on those two horses. Very sad day for Molly. It didn't quite go to plan with her.
That was in the arena again.
It was in the arena.
And she had you can't see this, but obviously if you look back, you'll find it somewhere.
Yeah.
She had a bit of a tricky at the first element or something, and then she rode so well to the second. I thought she was going to be okay.
He just started questioning her a couple of times, and she admittedly said, it's 4-star. I'm glad I'm not in the 5-star. But he started questioning her a couple of times around the course, and then he banked the brush oxer before the double of brush shoulders in the arena. And as soon as she did that, I thought, oh no, come on, Charlie, come on. And on the live stream, I said, come on, because I know when he does something like that, he does just question himself, and he's a bit of a nervous. He has a bit of a nervous disposition.
It's about confidence. Same with horses as with people.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And like you say, as they go round and it's just chipping away at their confidence, and then it gets to the point where
Ginny Elliott, Leng Holgate, that won here many times. She always said, you start over the first few fences and you put a little bit of money in the bank, giving them confidence, because at some point you might need to give them the odd fiver and say, thanks very much, you got me out of trouble there.
Harry Mee calls it the bucket of confidence, doesn't he? Actually, he had a really good ride in the 5-star.
Amazing.
He could have been the ride of the day.
I wanted to give him the ride of the day, but I don't know. I think it was more that Susie, she's one of those upcoming riders. I thought that there were a couple of really good save moments. There was a fifth leg coming out here and there. Harry's always brilliant. He just looks so smooth. And what I loved about the ride on Tenerez was he would land, give the horse a little squeeze, and off they went again. They were just straight into their rhythm. It was beautiful to watch. So Harry, you were a second choice.
You were. Thank you, Spencer, as always. I don't think Peter Thompson's going to make it. He did say that it was a little iffy, so I'm sorry about that if anyone was tuning in to watch Peter Thompson, but we'll try and get him maybe tomorrow. We are back here tomorrow at 6 o'clock for more Luhmühlen Late. And the horse inspection is 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's live on Horse and Country in German and in English. And then the show jumping starts at 10 a.m. for the 5-star and 1:20 p.m. for the 4-star. But look, I'm being brought a VIP. It's not Peter Thompson. Oh no, it's a lot better than that. We have Julia Otto, only the Luhmühlen organizer. Come on in, Julia. So this is quite amusing because on day one, Mark, who's the director of Chili Pepper TV, practically dragged Tim Price off his horse to come in.
And now he's
dragged you out of your office.
Well done. But he couldn't do any better.
But what a treat. Thank you for coming in. First of all, how are you feeling about today?
God, I'm a bit exhausted now, but it was absolutely fantastic, and I think we had a great day for the sport, and we saw beautiful pictures and beautiful rounds, and I think it's amazing to see these horse and rider combinations going, and it's very thrilling. And we had a good crowd coming in, like a typical Luhmühlen crowd. We have a consistent fan crowd coming in, and I was very pleased how it all went from arrival to departure, so to say, because we had some challenges here with the roadworks, obviously, who we communicated throughout the week. But when it's all coming to this cross-country day, it's always very challenging.
Well, what people don't know, because obviously when you're watching an event on the TV, or even if you're here as a spectator, you're looking at the horses, you're walking around. But behind the scenes, Julia is basically pacing up and down on her own. And I went up to her and said, Julia, are you okay? Because you just looked, you were just going backwards and forwards. And you said, Lizzie, it's fine. I'm just like to be in my own space and like bugger off, basically. I'm just going to pace up and down. But it just showed, well, this isn't just like a normal job, basically. Being an event director of an event like Luhmühlen, you've spent months and months and months setting it all up, and then when it happens, you have to just hope that everything all the plans come together, and you're left pacing up and down, sort of crossing your fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is what probably the hardest part is of my job, because within our company, we're just organizing Luhmühlen one time a year. So for me, it's like this, get it right now. You don't have a second chance in this year. So I need to wait for another year to get it right. And this is why I'm getting very nervous, and nervous not to, stress out the team, because we have the greatest team here around, and they all know what they have to do. And it's like really very smart what they're all doing, and I'm just I want to concentrate of what's going on, and I don't want to chat around. I just want to be for my own and follow the sport, and if something happens or if anything needs to be decided, I just want to be around, calm and collected, and get it done.
Tell us about you, Julia. Did you ride? What's your story? How did you end up being the boss of Luhmühlen?
It's actually through my husband, to be honest. Now, I have ridden myself from a child on, but I was mainly in dressage, and we had a private stable and hotel close to Luhmühlen. So I'm born in Hamburg, but that's very close. So I spent most of my time here in the area and riding and enjoying as a child. And then I stopped riding, and because of the profession and my work, and I went to Munich and came back to Hamburg, to cut the story short. And then in Hamburg, someone asked me if I want to start in the marketing for horse shows. And then this is where it all started. And then 5 years later, I was involved in the sponsoring in the Hamburg Jumping Derby. 2 people from the organization of Luhmühlen came in, saw me, we noticed each other from the earlier years, and they said, can you help us out in Luhmühlen? And a year before, I married to someone, well, not to someone, to my husband, Hubertus, who lived already here. So it was really great that, it all came together at this perfect time. And it's now nearly 25 years old, this story.
It's such a special event. Everyone you speak to, without fail, says how much they love Luhmühlen. And they're not just saying it because they're talking to me on Luhmühlen Lates or when I'm out and about, but they do. There's a very special thing about this show. Can you quantify that?
It's probably, with the other 5 stars around the world, we are all very different. And I think what Luhmühlen has out of the history is this team of people behind the scenes, and it's sort of generations working for all this. And so they pass on just the smile, I would say, because it's really when you come in the morning, and if it's early or a little later, they just smile. And I think with a smile you can do a lot, even if it's stress. And that sort of philosophy, I think, pops into everyone who comes and has to be here over the week, and that's a big benefit what we have, I think.
Because people say to me, why are you going to Germany? What are you doing? and most of the time I'm not actually presenting here. I'm floor managing, or I'm carrying cups of coffee or getting paper or doing stuff that may not ordinarily be my job. And most of the people working behind the scenes on Luhmühlen Lakes are not doing their normal jobs either. But we come because we love it, and we come every year, and we come for you, Julia, and you just do the most wonderful job.
Thank you.
Now, apparently Mike Etherington-Smith is coming.
God, I better go.
Your course designer. Before he gets here, you must have been very happy with the course today, because he did a great job, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely. I think he's done a brilliant job, but also the team around him, and I especially would like to mention, David Evans and Carl Fletcher and all the boys working for that team. I mean, they are his ideas, and he's guiding them, or the crew guiding. But it's really here's trouble again. I thought we'd done cross country, but anyway. So he's for me the whole team worked really so wonderful, and the way they presented it, with the dressing and the decoration and what they did to the whole course to save it in this warm weather, that was really amazing.
So we're just singing your praises, Mike, as we do generally. But I said to you earlier, and I thought you probably think, what's she saying? But I was like, good job, Mike, good job. What a kind of win. It felt, to me, that felt like a great job for you. That cross country caused problems all over the place. Are you pleased with? I mean, I know you're not like that, but are you pleased with yourself? Quietly pleased with yourself?
I'm certainly not pleased with myself. No, because that's not me. No, it's an interesting day, and as Julia just said, I mean, the team do a great job here. It's a fantastic venue. It's a fantastic event. Very lucky to be involved here. Because they wanted to be the best, or the best they can make it, and they work really, really hard. As I say, it's really professional. Great place. It's a great honour to be involved. But as far as today is concerned, it was interesting. It was interesting because it's not the biggest track, but you don't have to be big. We can all do big. It's all about pitching it right, and it's sort of, some of the good guys came a little bit unhinged and surprised a few, and then some of the not so good guys did well. It's a real mix, wasn't it? And then you look at the German Championship. I mean, that was interesting.
And your water trays that you told me that it was a bit of an experiment, they maybe were quite influential in the end, weren't they?
I like those. I'm going to do those again. Yeah. Anybody who's paying attention, go away, have a look, practice.
When did you think about, how late a decision was that to stick those?
Well, that was in November.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't really late. You made it sound like you decided last week to chuck some water trays.
No, that was in November. I said, have we got any water trays? Because I just had this idea to play with them, and I like the way they turned out. Did not expect them to be as influential as well. I thought the 5-star might be, because that was committed for track. But I did not expect the 4-star. There was some wacky stuff going on there. I mean, look at some of the lines that some of these people took. You think, oh, hello, but that it's there to be jumped. I mean, they jump all these types of fences all the time, and suddenly there's an extra dimension. There's a water tray underneath it, and for whatever reason. Shouldn't say this, blonde moments kick in.
Thank you. We did listen to this one, right?
Sort of things happen, sort of suddenly they leave the brains sort of before the previous fence, and you think, what on earth are they doing? It's not for me to tell people how to ride fences, by the way, so I'm certainly not pretending to. But
you said, I'm going to put them in, see what happens. It's a bit of an experiment, and it had the desired effect because it sorted the wheat from the chaff.
Well, it did, yeah, and I will do it again, because I like the idea, I like the concept. I'm a bit of a slow learner. I should have thought about this years ago.
How long have you been doing this?
It's a reality. I know, exactly. And, you talk to people like Dickie Waygood there, who, Chris Bartlett, who were going to come on and have a chat, but they ran away from it. But funnily enough, we were just talking about it, the track and all this sort of stuff. And it's always interesting. There's always something new to learn. You always pick up something and lock it away. Okay, I can use that for the future, even at my age, with grey hair and some senility creeping in. So we have it, and that's the trick. You got to learn something. I mean, I spent today watching. I'm not just watching who's jumping what. I'm watching how they're jumping them, how the horses are travelling, and what can I learn from it? What can I put away?
What else did you learn? Do you think?
Well, I'm not going to share that.
Oh, okay.
Because that's in the locker for next year.
But for instance, Laura, so yesterday you said to me when we were talking about the cross country, you said it's difficult for course designers nowadays to test them because they're so good and they know what they're doing and blah, 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 obviously other than the water trees. But you then said, so towards the end of the course, I put those clips in so that they can't just slide over them, they've got to ride those last few fences. And Laura said, without me saying anything, she said, I really wanted to respect those last few fences, and I knew that he had enough in the tank, luckily, to jump them properly and not worry about the pins. But that, again, that's a rider responding to the questions you said.
Yeah, it's important because, I mean, designing courses is getting tougher, really, because the tools in our armoury are sort of quietly drifting away and drifting out. And for whatever reason, the fact that MIM clips have come along, it actually gives us another opportunity to do stuff like this. Because what I want to do as a course designer is make riders have to think their way around the course. Good heavens, we're being joined by royalty.
We've got people moving left and right.
And
oh, Julia!
But it's no, you want riders to have to think their way around the track, make decisions based on how they're going, and we got world-class riders here, and Olympic gold medal horses. I mean, the best of the best are here, and there are people stepping up to the level for the first time. And somehow you've got to cater for everybody in that mix, and it's kind of tricky, and you never know till afterwards whether you've sort of got it right. Because I make mistakes, riders make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes. The trick is to try and cover them up, so they're not too obvious.
But the riders, from what I saw, everyone I spoke to and everyone I saw and listened to just thought it was a great track. Boyd Martin was saying it was a great track. Everyone thought it was a really fair, interesting, tricky and influential cross country, and that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and we've got to be really, really careful. We don't want horses on the floor. We've got to avoid that if we possibly can. And so, inevitably, the direction of travel, because of all the pressures on equestrian sport in general, that has to be at the top of our minds. So equine safety, I do quite a lot in racing now as well. I mean, it has to be the number one priority, and so that first and foremost is what you think. We live in the world of what if. What if this happens? What are the consequences of what people like me do? What can they be? What might they be? And so you try and mitigate those risks. You need luck as well. It's not all skill. There's quite a fair chunk of luck in there. But what was great, seeing the good, there's cream at the top. There were four fabulous, for me, there were four outstanding rides at the 5-star level, and two outstanding rides in the 4-star. For me, they were standout rides, and fantastic for them. People stepping up to the level for the first time. Hopefully they benefited. The horses have benefited. Some had eyes out on stalks, but they came round, and that's one of the things I want. I want people to benefit from the experience.
Well, two of those outstanding 5-star rides are trained by this man, I would imagine. Laura and Kitty, would they be the two outstanding 5-stars?
They were certainly two of them.
First and second. Dickie, your girls, not just your girls that you coach, but obviously as the performance director for British Eventing, you must be feeling very pleased with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great day. Do I need to talk into this?
You do, I'm afraid, yes. Is that all right?
No, it was really good. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of coaches that work with those riders at home. Ian Woodhead on the flat, Ross Bevins with the show jumping, Carl Hester helps Laura as well. So I kind of consider myself as a little bit of a field of play coach, but I do help both of those with the cross country and through all the phases. And Chris, I've learned so much from Chris over the years, who's going to join us.
He's coming in. So Mike, thank you very much.
He thinks he's getting out of this.
Chris and Dickie show again.
So
Mike,
here we
thank
go.
you.
But no, they were both exceptional. But then you'd have to include Yaz in that as well. And Yaz, just has this sort of super talent to make it look so easy. But between the pair of us, we sort of we ping off each other, we check and challenge, and sometimes we come up with the right answers. And in Chris's words, we're all experts on a Saturday night, and we always know the answers. But I think that's why we work well together, because there's nothing we can't say to each other. And then afterwards we'll go away and think, I might do a U-turn on that decision, or I might not do a U-turn. That's why it's healthy.
Today, what have been your discussions after today? The things you can tell me, obviously not everything, not your deepest thoughts.
I think it was €5 for a PIMS, and we were at the exchange rate.
But after you'd seen, I mean, I thought Kitty's round as well. I thought that was really lovely.
Yeah, I mean, Kitty had a little bit of a time at Badminton. The stars weren't aligned for Kitty. There was a few things going on in the background for Kitty to come out, and she did such a good job. Bicton was a great setup for here. She rode beautifully at Bicton, as did Laura. And they just really, my sort of words to Kitty, the main words were just get your head in that Bicton place and just ride like you did at Bicton and ease the horse into it. She did a beautiful job.
What did you say to her, Chris?
To be honest, it's probably not repeatable on the microphone, but it had something to do with F and flags and make it happen.
Actually, a lot of flags were taken. I mean, the flag replacers would have been very busy today. I don't think there were any that became a fault, but there were lots of flags taken out, weren't there?
Yeah, and Dickie did comment that he actually hadn't had to go and chat to the grand jury afterwards on the occasion of flags going, so that was a positive from the point of view of sensible sort of decisions being taken. But yeah, at the end of the day, the way Mike had placed his flags on some of the fences, they were pretty tight, and so if your feet pointed outwards slightly, you were very likely to catch a flag. So I think, sense prevailed. Yeah.
Well, I have to. Part of my job is to go into the control and check if they want to see anything again. And I was expecting them to want to see loads of flags, just because I kept seeing them go, and they were like, "No, everything's good."
No, it, as Chris said, I was expecting when we walked the course to sort of be in and out, and that's why you watch it so attentively. And you've got to bear in mind the grand jury have a lot of their equipment is sort of head on, where a lot of your footage is side on as well. So you see something completely different head on, but no, not once today, which was quite a relief really, because it's like going into the headmaster's office.
I know, it's scary for me going in there. They're obviously testing the bell. It's working. We know the bells are going to be perfect for tomorrow's show jumping. Chris, I just want to come back to something that I spoke to you about off air yesterday, and that was when I was watching Laura doing her dressage on London 52. It struck me that she does so many different things with her racing hat on, for instance. There she is at 7:30 in the morning training somebody's racehorse to jump. And then she goes out there and does the most amazing dressage test. Now, I know you said to me, well, it's all riding, Lizzie, and I know it is, but isn't that just incredible? Is it just me that thinks that's amazing?
It is, it is absolutely to be applauded, and as you say, incredible is perhaps too strong a word. I believe in her, and therefore that she can do it. But I think that and that's the great thing about our sport. We call it, in Germany it's called Vielseitigkeit, which is many-sided, and your dressage is preparing you for your jumping and your cross-country and so on. And I think one of the things that we've sort of emphasized as we've been working together is the importance of that dressage being related to the other aspects of the sport, and therefore build up the strength and condition and the self-carriage and the straightness of the horses and all those things. It's not just about flash paces. Clearly London has an amazing ability in respect of his natural paces, but that have been well developed by Laura, and as again Dickie intimated earlier, she's worked closely with Ian Woodhead, for example, at home. I live up in North Yorkshire, she's down there in Gloucestershire, closer to Dickie than I, so I can't take any of the credit other than setting the goals, as it were, setting the style that I want the horses to go in.
And creating the ethos
and
that
the
everyone's
ethos,
working.
Absolutely, yeah. And she's absolutely a good advertisement for that.
It's a really good point that you make actually about the diversity, because nowadays in the modern sport, you need to be able to understand, those pure elements of classical dressage. And if you look at London, the expression now and the expression that our top horses have, so they really understand about how to the biomechanics and how a horse can really, really move. So there's that element. And then, we go to the other element. You mentioned the racing, and Laura gets now sort of speed and rhythm and all of those key things. Everything is about mind sitting in balance. But then she also does some work with Jay Hallam as well with the show jumping. So when you connect all those things in, they go into sort of, you're keeping that sort of pure element of each discipline, and when they all add up, this is the result that you get.
We've talked a lot in the past and on Luhmühlen Lakes last year about the Chris and Dickie thing and how why you've done what you've done with GB eventing and why you've been so successful since you've been at the helm. But do you think, amongst all the other organisation, all the other things that you two have done since you've taken over, do you think that ethos of it being holistic, of you having to ride your cross-country dressage test and then you doing your dressage cross-country round, do you think that's one of the really key parts?
There's more than one element. There's the technical skills, which Chris will tell you. So we were talking about technical skills there, but the other thing, life is about confidence, and it's about making people believe they can. And Chris is brilliant at that, and that's where hopefully I feel like that's one of my strengths as well. So between us, I think that is a big part, because the technical skills are one thing, but if you haven't got that belief to make things happen, then where are you going to go?
And talking about someone who has seemingly loads of belief at the moment and is looking in such a good place, Pippa Funnell. I mean, she rode a beautiful round. She said to us beforehand, it's not going to be very quick, so I'm not necessarily going to be inside the time, but she's still riding so brilliantly.
Oh, isn't she just? And, obviously we all live on, confidence. Confidence comes from things working, as it were. She really believes in the system. She's doing quite a bit of coaching herself now in the background, and so it's all the time inwardly to her, reinforcing the message of sticking to the system. And her performance today was great on a horse which is pretty strong and difficult as the course progresses to keep in balance and meet the preparation points and so on. But I thought she did a great job, and I think she's all set up for Burghley.
One really quick thing, what worries me about Pippa is absolutely legendary and kind of reinvented herself. It worries me now he's going to jump back in the saddle again.
Any chance of that, Chris? You tempted? You tempted?
No,
he's not saying no.
Dickie knows a few secrets that I'm not going to tell. But,
okay. This is great.
To be realistic, I'm just delighted that some of the people that I've helped over the last few years are doing such a great job. And if I'm really a bit selfish, I can say this as well, because there's some girls out there from Team Germany like Julia Krajewski, who were very much part of the team in the past.
You
who
can
is
cut that,
sticking
you
to
can
the
edit
system.
that.
Julia is fantastic.
We need to talk about your contract.
She is fantastic. She is, and she rode beautifully. Look, you two, thank you so much. I could have just had the whole show with you two, frankly, because you are brilliant, the Chris and Dickie show. But I think we're probably well over our allotted time, so we're going to say good night to you, and good night to you here at Luhmühlen Lakes. Thank you, Chris and Dickie. Thank you to all of our guests. We're back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. local time. That's Luhmühlen Central European time. Is that right? I'm never very good with clocks, but 6 p.m. Germany time. And we have the trot up tomorrow morning, the Vets Inspection at 8 o'clock. It is live on Horse and Country in German and English. The 5-star show jumping gets underway at 5 o'clock, and the 4-star show jumping gets underway at 1:20. So that's the German National Championships with the Messmer Trophy. So there'll be potentially one winner, potentially a German national champion as well. But with Julia Krajewski absolutely way out in front, it looks like it's going to be her winning the 4-star and her winning the German National Championships. Laura Collett out in front in the 5-star. So watch it on Horse and Country exclusively. But for me and the very hard-working team here at Luhmühlen Lakes, from all of us, good night.